The long-standing friendship between hip-hop heavyweights Drake and Rick Ross has erupted into a full-blown feud, leaving fans reeling and the music industry buzzing. Now, what started as a promising collaboration between two of the biggest names in the game has now escalated into a public showdown of diss tracks, social media jabs, and heated exchanges. But how did things reach this boiling point? Join me today as we find out. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, both Drake and Rick Ross were carving their paths in the music industry. Now, Drake, initially known for his role on the television show Degrassi: The Next Generation, transitioned into the world of hip-hop with mixtapes like Room for Improvement and Comeback Season. Now, meanwhile, Rick Ross, formerly known as Teflon, wait, ain't that the stuff I put on my skillet it made out of so things don't stick? Anyway, this dude made waves with his debut studio album, Port of Miami, in 2006, quickly solidifying his position as one of hip-hop's rising stars. Now, as their individual successes continue to mount, they eventually cross paths in the music industry, leading to collaborations that would define their careers. From 2009 to 2021, Drake and Rick Ross collaborated on a lot of notable tracks, showcasing their chemistry and shared vision for music. Now, their friendship and mutual respect were evident in interviews and public appearances, but then things started to go a little downhill. Now, back in 2015, Drake got tangled up in a heated rap battle with Meek Mill, and it all started with a few tweets. So Meek accused Drake of not writing his own rap lyrics, suggesting the ghostwriters were behind his hits. Now, Drake wasn't having none of that. Now, he hit back hard with two diss tracks, Charged Up and Back to Back. Now, these weren't just any diss tracks, they were like verbal grenades that exploded all over social media. And Charged Up, Drake came out swinging, rapping lines like, "I'm honored that you think this is stage. I'm flattered, man. In fact, I'm amazed," challenging Meek's claims head on. But it was Back to Back that really took things to the next level. Now, Drake didn't hold back, serving up lines like, "Is that a world tour or your girl's tour?" Ooh, man, he was essentially calling out Meek for riding on the coattails of his then girlfriend Nicki Minaj for fame. So, I know what you're asking. How the hell does this involve Rick Ross? Well, Meek Mill happened to be signing to Rick Ross's label, May Beach Music Group, or MMG. Now, as tensions was rising between Drake and Meek, Rick Ross initially showed his support for Drake and even publicly sided with him. Rick Ross publicly voiced his support for Drake. Now, he took to social media to express his allegiance to the Toronto rapper, which initially seemed like a solidification of their friendship. But like all good things, this support started to fade over time, especially after the disagreements between the two. So, when Drake dropped his diss tracks aimed at Meek Mill, the rap world was buzzing. But Rick Ross's reaction added an extra layer of intrigue. Now, initially, he seemed to be in Drake's corner, but his comments weren't crystal clear. Instead of outright praising Drake, Ross made statements that left room for interpretation. While some might have expected a strong endorsement of Drake's lyrical assault on Meek Mill, Rick Ross's response was more nuanced. Now, he didn't directly address the content of Drake's diss tracks or fully align himself with Drake's position. This ambiguity left fans wondering about the true nature of Rick Ross's stance in the Drake-Meek Mill feud. Drake's known for dropping subtle hints and references in his music, and his relationship with Rick Ross wasn't no exception. Throughout his songs, Drake peppered in mentions and allusions to Rick Ross, sometimes hinting at underlying tensions or differences. And then came the social media battle. In the world of celebrities, social media can sometimes speak volumes, and Rick Ross's alleged unfollowing of Drake on platforms like Insta raised some freaking eyebrows. I mean, it might seem like a small gesture in the grand scheme of things, but in the digital age, who you follow or unfollow can signal shifts in relationships. Now, fans noticed when Rick Ross appeared to hit the unfollow button on Drake's profile, sparking speculation about potential rifts between the two hip-hop heavyweights. Now, whether this move was deliberate or simply a social media shuffle remains unclear, but it added fuel to the rumors of tension brewing between Drake and Rick Ross. And it didn't just stop there neither. When Drake extended an invitation to Rick Ross's ex as a special guest at one of his concerts, it turned heads and raised some questions about the state of their friendship. I mean, inviting an ex-partner or somebody you consider a friend can be seen as crossing a freaking line, especially in the world of celebrity, where loyalties can run deep. Now, this move hinted at potential cracks in the foundation of Drake and Rick Ross's relationship, leaving fans wondering about the motives behind such a gesture. Now, whether it was an innocent invitation or a deliberate jab, who knows? But then came a flood of diss tracks. Rap beefs often escalate through the release of diss tracks, and rumors swirled about a supposed track by Drake called Push Ups, taking aim at not just Rick Ross, but also other notable figures in the industry. In Drake's leaked diss track Push Ups, he didn't hold back, targeting a lineup of fellow rappers including Kendrick Lamar, Future, Metro Boomin, and notably Rick Ross. The track, which hasn't officially hit streaming services, was leaked by DJ Academics, stirring up the whole rap community. Now, he didn't spare Rick Ross either, suggesting that Ross should focus on his own affairs rather than meddling in Drake's. Drake even teased about potentially romancing Ross's former flame, hinting at a level of audacity in his lyrics. Moreover, Drake claimed that Ross owed his chart success to him, insinuating that every hit Ross ever had was the result of Drake's influence. Now, the diss track also shows Drake responded to Future's claims of being his biggest fan, brushing off the notion and asserting his own status. He also took a swipe at producer Metro Boomin, urging him to get back to his craft rather than engaging in the ongoing drama. Now, as y'all can imagine, this exchange ignited a big back and forth between Drake and Rick Ross, with Ross firing back with accusations about Drake's personal choices, including alleging that Drake had undergone a nose job. Now, Rick Ross fired back with a track of his own titled Champagne Moments. Now, this retaliation marked a notable escalation in the feud between the two artists, as Rick Ross directly addressed Drake and the issues between them through his lyrics, which eventually led to a public falling out. When Rick Ross accused Drake of undergoing a nose job, Drake didn't just let the allegations slide. Nah, this dude swiftly defended himself by sharing a text conversation with his mom, where she vouched for his natural appearance. Now, this move not only debunked Rico's claims, but also showcased Drake's willingness to address personal attacks head-on. Moreover, Drake didn't just shy away from retaliating against Rick Ross's trolling. In response to Ross's taunts and challenges, Drake maintained his composure while asserting his own position. By addressing the accusations directly and refusing to be dragged into unnecessary drama, Drake demonstrated a level-headed approach by handling the public fallout. Now, despite Drake's defense and retaliation, Rick Ross persisted in his taunting and challenges directed at Drake. Through social media posts and public remarks, Ross continued to poke fun at Drake and question his actions, keeping the feud alive in the eyes of the public. Now, Ross's relentless challenges to Drake hinted at a deeper animosity between the two artists, with neither willing to back down or concede ground. As the public fallout between Drake and Rick Ross played out in the public eye, it became clear that their feud was far from over. Now, following Rick Ross's diss track aimed at Drake, the Canadian rapper also maintained a notable silence. Despite the public attention garnered by Ross's provocative lyrics, Drake's refrained from directly addressing or responding to the track. Now, this silence from Drake has left fans and observers wondering about his next move and the ongoing feud. Now, while Drake's lack of response may indicate a strategic decision to avoid escalating the situation further, it could also suggest a calculated approach to timing his rebuttal for maximum impact. Now, Drake's history of measured responses and calculated releases leaves room for speculation regarding his motives for remaining silent in the face of Rick Ross's provocation. Now, both artists have traded barbs and engaged in public sparring, each attempting to assert dominance over the other. Now, the feud could potentially affect the trajectory of both Drake and Rick Ross's careers, influencing their public image, fan base perception, and industry relationships. But it's also possible that the conflict could serve as a creative fuel, inspiring both artists to produce compelling music that resonates with audiences. Now, ultimately, only time is going to tell how the feud between Drake and Rick Ross is going to end. Now, that's all we got for today. So let us know in the comment section below what your thoughts are on all this. And if you had to pick a side, you going to be Team Ross or you going to be Team Drake? Let me know below, and I'll catch you next time.